So as part of the request, I think most of you had brought in a job posting, right? So for the folks that you want, the company that you want to apply for or something. So the goal is to find a job posting, and you can use the job boards and stuff like that. And as a highlight, you want to make sure that you meet 80% of the requirements. You set up your resume, and there's all sorts of online templates and resume builders and all that sort of stuff. And I'm actually less fussed about the format of it than the actual content. Then you get into, this is what I think is the most important part, reverse engineering the job posting, right? Then if you can upgrade from activities to achievements, and I'll explain that, then you tweak it and you update what I call your career document. And a career document is essentially your super resume, right? And essentially what happens is when you apply to a job, it might take you a long time to create that first resume, right? Let's say it takes you 10 hours, right? Just to make the math easy. And that first resume takes 10 hours, but the next job is basically 60% the same, right? So instead of taking you 10 hours, it now takes you 4, right? It's the 60%, the remainder is 4. And then between the two resumes, the next one is 70% the same, 80% the same, 90% the same. So the first one might take you 10 hours to do, but by the time you get to the 10th or 15th resume, then you're cranking them out at every hour, every half hour, every 15 minutes if you get really good at it. So this career document basically takes all those slight changes because you want to describe it from a leadership perspective, a teamwork perspective, based on your financial experience, based on your volunteer experience, based on whatever. All those different changes you put into this massive career document. So by the time you get to your later ones, well, I want to do this, 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 this. And I probably went through that slide a little bit early. But job boards and alerts. So these are the common ones, kind of the big names. Indeed.com, folks know that. Monster Workopolis, Toronto Job Shop. Has folks heard of ZipRecruiter? So it's more in the US, but they do have some presence in Canada. And essentially it's a platform that does some more matching, and it's becoming quite popular. So I don't know if it's fad or it's a trend, but something to take a look at. Canada has their own job bank. So they're kind of an aggregator of different job boards and have that in there. For those that are looking at entry-level positions, which some of you may or may not, there's a site called Talent Egg, and they focus exclusively on the recent grads and entry-level positions. And obviously LinkedIn is becoming a big one, right? Where there's a lot of job postings, you can do easy apply, and they just look at your LinkedIn profile. But yeah. So these are kind of job boards and alerts. You want to make sure that you set them up, right? Go into each one of them, put in project manager, dermatologist, whatever, and have them appear. For the first little bit, you'll probably get spammed. You'll get like 5, 10 a day, a week, or whatever it is. And what you want to do is actually look at them and find out, okay, which are the jobs that you actually truly want? Because sometimes they'll give you extra ones, and then you start refining those alerts. Right? You start adding a little bit more keywords. Maybe you want to expand the search. Maybe you want to refine the search, whatever it is, to get kind of the best opportunities coming to you, right? And out of that job, so you find one, you have an alert, this job sounds interesting. You want to meet 80% of the posting. So it's actually interesting that you don't need to have 100% of all the requirements. If you do, that's awesome. But oftentimes you don't, because what happens is the hiring manager says to the HR person, says, well, I need to hire someone. The HR person says, well, what do you need? Well, I need someone with 5 years of experience managing 5 accounts, each worth $5 million. It's like, okay. But what happens is they have someone with 5 years of experience managing 10 accounts, each worth $3 million. Or they have someone with 3 years of experience managing 7 accounts, each worth $7 million, right? So on that kind of baseline scale, you might not meet kind of the basics, but they'll kind of say, yeah, you know what, this other stuff compensates for that. Now, if someone has 10 years of experience with 10 accounts and $10 million, well, they probably overshadow you. And the interesting part about the whole job search process, the resume process, it's not whether or not you're qualified for the job, it's whether you're the most qualified for the job. So there's a competition aspect. But I want to make sure that you don't strike yourself out because you don't meet all of the requirements, right? And oftentimes you want to think soft skills too, because you might not meet specifically what it says there, but you can say, you know what, I did exactly that, but in a different context, for a different industry, for in a slightly different role, because there's a lot of transferable skills that can be applied to something